Disclaimer: this content is only for mature audiences. Viewer discretion is advised. I never thought I'd be in this situation, sitting across from my mother and her husband, trying to act normal while my heart pounded in my chest. My hands felt clammy, my stomach twisted in knots, and I could barely focus on the conversation. Because last night, I remembered something that changed everything. He wasn't just my mom's husband. He was my ex. The realization hit me like a tidal wave, knocking the air from my lungs. How could I have forgotten? How did I not recognize him the first time I met him as her husband? But now, the memories were flooding back: our late-night conversations, the way he used to hold my hand, the way we laughed together like nothing else in the world mattered. And now, he was married to my mom. I forced a smile as my mom reached for his hand, her face glowing with happiness. She had no idea. None. And I couldn't bring myself to say anything. But inside, my mind was racing. Should I tell her? Would it even matter? It had been years since we were together, and back then, we were just two people who thought we had something real before life pulled us in different directions. But now that I remembered, there was no knowing it. No pretending. Every moment we spent in the same room felt like walking on thin ice, as if any second, the truth could shatter the fragile peace my mom had found. And the worst part? I wasn't even sure how he felt about all of this. Did he remember? Because when our eyes met across the table, just for a second, I saw something flicker in his expression. Recognition. Guilt. Maybe even something else. What would you do in my situation? Would you tell your mom the truth? Or would you keep it a secret and hope the past stays buried? Let me know in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe for the next part, because trust me, things are only going to get more complicated. I could barely taste my food. Every bite felt like chewing on regret, every swallow like forcing down a secret I wasn't ready to keep. My mom and her husband, my ex, were chatting away, completely unaware of the storm raging inside me. I glanced at him again, searching his face for any sign that he remembered. And there it was. The tension in his jaw, the way he avoided my gaze for too long, the way he shifted uncomfortably in his seat. He knew. But why hadn't he said anything? I gripped my fork tighter, my heart pounding. Should I bring it up? Not here, not in front of my mom. But later. Could I really just pretend none of this was real? Are you okay, sweetheart? My mom asked, reaching across the table to squeeze my hand. Her eyes were filled with concern, and that just made the guilt weigh heavier. I forced a small laugh. Yeah, just a long day. She smiled, satisfied with my answer, and turned her attention back to him. And that was when it hit me: this wasn't just awkward or weird. It was wrong. Not in the sense that he had done anything to hurt me or my mom, but because there was a whole part of our lives she didn't know about. A part one had somehow forgotten, until now. How had I forgotten? The memories were coming back in pieces, like an old movie reel with missing frames. Late-night drives, whispered promises, that one time we danced in my apartment kitchen, laughing so hard we couldn't breathe. It wasn't just a fling. It was real. We had loved each other once. And then we broke up. But why? That part was still blurry, like looking through fogged-up glass. Had it ended badly? Did I push him away? Did he? The only thing I knew for sure was that whatever happened back then, it led us here, to this impossible moment, where he was now my mother's husband, sitting at our dinner table like a stranger. After dinner, my mom went to the kitchen to grab dessert, leaving us alone for the first time. The silence was thick, heavy. He cleared his throat, shifting in his chair. You remembered, he said, his voice barely above a whisper. My breath caught in my throat. There it was. The truth between us, raw and unspoken until now. I nodded slowly, my pulse racing. Yeah, I did. He exhaled sharply, rubbing a hand over his face. I was hoping you wouldn't. His words sent a chill down my spine. Why? Before I could ask, my mom's voice rang out from the kitchen. I hope you both saved room for cake. The moment shattered. He straightened up, plastering on a neutral expression as my mom walked back in, carrying a plate of dessert, completely oblivious to the history sitting between us. I had to know the truth. But first, I needed to figure out if I even wanted to hear it. I could barely focus as my mom served the cake, her voice warm and happy as she chatted about a weekend trip she was planning. Meanwhile, my mind was stuck on his words. I was hoping you wouldn't remember. Why? What was he hiding? I stole a glance at him. He was playing his part well, nodding along as my mom spoke, acting like a devoted husband. But beneath the surface, I could see it, the tension in his shoulders, the way his fingers tapped against his glass as if he was waiting for something to explode. The worst part was, I wasn't even sure how I felt about any of this. Was I angry? Confused? Did I still feel something for him? That thought alone made my stomach turn. I forced myself to take a bite of cake, barely tasting it. My mom looked over at me with a small frown. You've been so quiet tonight. Are you sure everything's okay? I felt his eyes on me, waiting for my response. Yeah, I said quickly, faking a smile. Just tired, that's all. She studied me for a moment, then shrugged. Well, you should get some rest. We'll talk more later. The idea of talking later made my chest tighten. I nodded anyway, pretending everything was fine as I stood up and excused myself. But as I made my way to my room, I felt the weight of his gaze following me. I closed the door behind me and leaned against it, letting out a shaky breath. This was too much. Too complicated. But I couldn't just let it go. I grabbed my phone and scrolled through old messages, old photos, hoping to find anything that could explain why I had forgotten him, why our relationship had faded from my memory until now. And then, just as I was about to give up, I found it. A picture. The two of us, standing in front of a small cafe, smiling like we had the whole world ahead of us. My fingers trembled as I zoomed in. The date on the photo was from 5 years ago. Why did it feel like a lifetime? A knock on my door made me jump. My heart pounded as I hesitated before opening it. And there he was, standing in the dim hallway, his face unreadable. We need to talk, he said, his voice low. My pulse raced. Part of me wanted to shut the door and pretend none of this was happening. But another part, the one desperate for answers, nodded and stepped aside. As he walked in, I knew one thing for sure. Whatever he was about to say would change everything. What do you think he's hiding? Should she trust him or walk away? Comment your predictions below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for the next part. You won't want to miss what happens next. I closed the door behind him, my fingers still gripping the handle like I could shut this whole thing out if I wanted to. But I couldn't. Not now. Not when I was finally about to get answers. He stood there for a moment, his eyes scanning the room as if stepping into my space felt too personal. Or maybe he was just stalling. You remembered everything, he asked quietly. I swallowed hard, my voice barely above a whisper. Not everything. Just pieces. He let out a slow breath, rubbing the back of his neck. That might be for the best. Something about the way he said it sent a chill through me. Like there was something more, something I hadn't remembered yet. I took a shaky step closer. Why did we break up? His jaw tightened. You don't remember that part? I shook my head. I'd tried so hard to piece it together, but the memories of us always stopped short, like my mind had erased the ending on purpose. He sighed, running a hand over his face. It wasn't because we stopped caring about each other. I think we both know that. That much was true. Even now, standing in front of him, I could feel it, the strange pull, the weight of everything unspoken. But then why? He hesitated before finally meeting my eyes. It ended because I hurt you. And I think, deep down, you didn't want to remember that. A cold sensation spread through my chest. My breath caught, my mind racing. He hurt me. What do you mean? My voice wavered. His eyes darkened, and for the first time, I saw something that wasn't just guilt. It was regret. And maybe even fear. I made a mistake, he said. One I can't take back. The room suddenly felt too small, the walls closing in on me. My heart pounded against my ribs as a wave of unease crashed over me. I thought I wanted the truth, but now, standing here, I wasn't so sure. What kind of mistake? I whispered. Before he could answer, We both froze at the sound of footsteps in the hallway. My mom. Panic flickered across his face. Without thinking, I grabbed his wrist and pulled him into my closet, barely shutting the door before my mom's voice rang out. "Hey, sweetheart. You okay in there?" I struggled to steady my breathing. "Yeah, just getting ready for bed." A pause. Then, "All right, sleep well. Love you." I waited until I heard her door close before exhaling. When I turned back to him, he was watching me carefully. "You're scared of telling her," I said, realizing it in real time. His expression didn't change. "Aren't you?" I didn't have an answer. Because the truth was, I was scared. Scared of what I might remember. Scared of what it would mean if I did. What do you think his secret is? And should she keep it from her mom? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe because the next part is going to change everything. The closet felt smaller by the second, the air thick with everything unsaid. He was standing so close that I could feel the tension rolling off him, but I wasn't sure if it was because of what he was about to say or because he knew we were running out of time. "We can't do this here," he muttered. I hesitated, then nodded. I slowly cracked the closet door open, peering into the dimly lit hallway. My mom's door was shut. The house was quiet. Carefully, I slipped out first, then he followed, stepping lightly behind me. The moment we were back in my room, I shut the door again, locking it this time. My heart was still racing, but now it wasn't just because of nearly getting caught. It was because of him. "Talk," I whispered, crossing my arms to keep my hands from shaking. "What did you do?" His eyes flickered with something unreadable. Then, finally, he spoke. "You weren't supposed to remember me because I made sure you wouldn't." The words didn't register at first. "What?" His hands clenched into fists at his sides. "You asked why you forgot me. Why everything about us was gone." His throat bobbed as he swallowed hard. "It's because I made it happen." A cold wave washed over me. That doesn't make sense. But even as I said it, pieces of the puzzle started clicking into place. The missing memories. The gaps in my past. The way I felt like I should have known him, but didn't. I shook my head. "That's not possible." "It is," he said quietly. "And I did it for you." My breath caught. "For me." He ran a hand through his hair, frustration written all over his face. "You were hurting. After we broke up, you weren't okay. I thought it was just the breakup at first, but it wasn't. There was something else, something bigger." He exhaled sharply. "I had a friend, someone who could help. She had ways of making things disappear." I took a shaky step back. "You erased my memories." "It wasn't permanent," he said quickly. "I thought I was doing the right thing. You said you wanted to forget, that you needed to." The room spun. My hands curled into fists at my sides. "You had no right to make that choice for me." "I know," he whispered. "But you weren't supposed to remember." 1,000 emotions rushed through me at once: anger, confusion, betrayal. But beneath it all, a deeper, more terrifying question burned in my chest. What had been so painful that I asked to forget? A knock at my door made both of us jump. "Honey." My mom's voice. "Are you still up?" I froze. He gave me a sharp look, silently urging me to stay calm. But how could I? How could I act normal when my entire past had just been rewritten in front of me? I'm just about to sleep," I called out, forcing my voice to sound normal. A pause. Then, "All right. Get some rest, sweetheart. Love you." I waited until I heard her footsteps fade before turning back to him. "What else are you hiding?" I demanded. His expression darkened. "You don't want to know." I let out a short, bitter laugh. "Well, too bad, because I do." He hesitated, then exhaled. "If I tell you everything, there's no going back." I squared my shoulders. "Then tell me." He stared at me for a long moment, like he was memorizing my face before everything changed. Then, finally, he said, "You didn't just forget me. You forgot what happened the night we broke up." A chill ran down my spine. "What happened?" I whispered. His gaze held mine, and when he spoke, his voice was barely audible. You almost died. I felt the floor drop out from beneath me. What could have happened that night? And why would she have wanted to forget? Comment below with your theories, and don't forget to subscribe because the next part is going to change everything. The room felt like it was spinning, my breath shallow as his words sank in. You're lying, I whispered, shaking my head. That's not possible. But deep down, something inside me knew he wasn't. I wish I was, he said, his voice low. That night, something happened. Something bad. My chest tightened. Tell me. He hesitated, but then the words tumbled out. We were arguing. It got intense. You were upset more than I'd ever seen you. You kept saying you needed to get away, that you felt like you were losing yourself. And then, he closed his eyes for a second before looking at me again. You ran. My pulse pounded in my ears. You ran straight into the street. Flashes of something sharp and broken flickered in my mind. The sound of screeching tires. A blinding light. A sudden, crushing force. I stumbled back, gripping the edge of my desk to steady myself. No, he took a step toward me. You don't remember, do you? I squeezed my eyes shut, my heartbeat slamming against my ribs. But then, like a dam breaking, it all came rushing back. The fight. The panic. The headlights. The impact. The feeling of weightlessness before everything went black. And then I gasped, my eyes snapping open. I woke up in the hospital. His jaw clenched. Yeah. I stared at him, my pulse racing. And you were there. He nodded. I thought I lost you that night. His voice was thick, heavy with something I couldn't name. You were unconscious for hours. When you woke up, you didn't remember what happened. You didn't remember us. I swallowed hard. So you just let me forget. He let out a hollow laugh. You begged me to let you forget. You said you didn't want to live with the memory of what almost happened. And I thought I was doing the right thing. Tears burned in my eyes. And now, his gaze held mine. Now, I realize that taking your memories didn't erase the truth. He let out a shaky breath. It just buried it. And eventually, buried things find their way back. Silence stretched between us. The weight of everything we had lost and everything we had just uncovered hung heavy in the air. I exhaled slowly, my hands trembling. So what now? For the first time that night, he didn't have an answer. But before either of us could speak, the door handle rattled. My mom's voice came from the other side. I know you're not alone in there. Open the door. Every nerve in my body went rigid. I looked at him, my heart hammering. His expression was unreadable. We don't have much time, he whispered. I took a deep breath and reached for the handle. What do you think will happen next? Should she tell her mom the truth or keep it buried? Comment your thoughts below, and don't forget to subscribe. Because this story isn't over yet. The door felt heavier than it should have as I gripped the handle, my fingers trembling. I turned back to look at him, searching for an answer in his eyes, but there wasn't one. Just quiet understanding. Taking a deep breath, I unlocked the door and pulled it open. My mom stood there, arms crossed, her gaze flicking between the two of us. Sit, she said firmly. We obeyed. She exhaled, looking directly at him. I knew something was off from the moment I introduced you two. I saw the way you looked at each other. But I told myself I was imagining it. She turned to me. Now I need to know the truth. I hesitated. A part of me wanted to protect her, to spare her from everything I had just uncovered. But I was done running from the past. I knew him before, I admitted. We were together. A long time ago. My mom's face barely changed, but I could see the gears turning in her head. And I forgot, I whispered. Because I almost died. And he helped me forget. The silence stretched between us. I braced myself for anger, disappointment, anything. But instead, my mom just sighed. That explains a lot. I blinked. Wait, you're not mad. She gave me a tired smile. Mad? No. Confused? Absolutely. But the past is the past. And clearly, you both have a lot to figure out. I let out a breath I didn't realize I was holding. So, what now? My mom looked between us, then gave a small, knowing smile. That's up to you too. As she walked away, leaving us alone, I turned back to him. You don't have to stay, I said softly. You've done enough. His eyes searched mine. Is that what you really want? I opened my mouth, but no words came out. Because I didn't know. Maybe this was where our story ended. Or maybe, just maybe, it was where it began again. And that was something only time could decide. What do you think? Should she give him another chance, or walk away for good? Comment below and let's talk about it. And don't forget to like and subscribe because sometimes, endings are just new beginnings.